Hey everyone, I am so glad that you decided to come in on this particular session. I have a special guest, Derek Thomas. He is out of the country. He is in Japan. Are you in Tokyo or where are you at, Derek?
In Tokyo. I've been here the last 30 years, in fact.
Excellent, excellent. So you're bilingual then.
More or less, you know.
Well, today what we're going to be talking about is alternative treatments and therapies that get men to be able to overcome erectile dysfunction. And more importantly, it is not the voodoo or any type of therapies that are going to do harm to you. This is an excellent tool for overcoming not only erectile dysfunction, PTSD, financial issues, and other types of maladies. So, Derek, if you wouldn't mind telling me a little bit more about your background and share with the group, that'd be great.
Yeah. Again, Derek Thomas. I've been doing this. I'm only in my second year, but it's fascinating and very productive. And I've been able to help out, some people with finally overcome some serious issues. So through I use RTT, Rapid Transformational Therapy, founded by Marissa Peer, which is a fantastic modality of a bunch of different kind of styles that kind of all wrapped up into one to that I can really help people in a really meaningful way. So and I have a couple different it's a hypnotherapy based modality. I also use a little bit of other another hypnosis style, conversational hypnosis, but it's all really good for getting down to the crux and the root cause and finding out why people have a certain issue, because whatever their issue is, that's not really what's going on. The real issue is farther down the pipeline that a lot of people just can't quite figure out themselves until you get under hypnosis and you're getting in touch with your subconscious and finding out what the real problem is. Then that's how you can get over it.
And I agree with you that the symptom isn't necessarily has anything to do with the cure. It's the way that your body reacts. And one of the ways that I have spoke in the past is that we store anger and fear in certain parts of our body, here in the shoulders, some in the pain, abdominal pain. And is that what you're finding? And what kind of therapy would you suggest that, to get rid of an anger issue? Or
that's exactly it. Because, just not only do I do, the hypnosis and RTT, I'm a stress management consultant. So every thought has a physical reaction, and over time that has organic, that creates organic change over time. To have, you can have all kinds of physical issues related to too much stress, and then stressing out about your stress, which will actually cause you to live a shorter life. There's studies that prove if the people that are stressed about the stress literally live shorter lives than those who use stress as a motivator to encourage them to, just learn how to better manage their lives. So
yeah. Well,
sorry.
The way that I relate to it is that the words that people use is very indicative of what their mindset is, and that mindset allows, or that behavior that then causes what their maladies, their disease states. And
Right.
So tell me some of the accomplishments that you've had with your hypnotherapy and the RTT.
Yeah, well, just getting people to because how we think about anything comes down to the words we say to ourselves and the pictures we put in our head. So I've been able to on not just erectile dysfunction, but actually physical pain as well. And hypnotherapy it's a great modality for helping people overcome chronic pain, you know. And to that end, unrelated to erectile dysfunction, one of my favorite stories is a client of mine. She'd had a tooth extracted and it got infected, and she was in like horrible pain.
Cool.
So I didn't even do a full session with her. It was just a recording that you listen to. She would listen to for it's like 20-minute recording. She would listen to it every day, and after a few days, the pain subsided.
Excellent.
And so she goes to the doctor a few days even after that, and the doctor was floored because the infection was still there, but she wasn't having like any pain at all by then. She said she would have rather been in labor,
Oh,
So yeah. So I mean, when the mind is such a powerful thing, and I've helped a guy most recently with he had fear of failure. So having to overcome this fear of failure, it is one of my long coaching sessions, because sometimes it's erectile dysfunction can be complicated, because erectile dysfunction is not just the cause. You have to dig down. You have to figure out what's causing it, how far back does it go. Could be completely something unrelated to what they originally thought it was, which is typically the case.
Yeah.
So when you go into everything with the fear of failure, even having sex, then it's going to have a physical effect on you.
Definitely. I agree with it, with what you're saying. And the individuals that I've worked with, they have guilt, they have anxiety, performance anxiety. And if their whole model of what a relationship is based on pornography, or based on uh, a relationship between their parents, or a relationship that they had that they got hurt by, or that they are intimidated by the power of the woman, then that's all going to affect them. And one of the things that I just want to throw out there real quick is that erectile dysfunction could be a precursor to another disease state. Could be
Right.
diabetes, could be
Yeah. Everybody needs to.
could be a lot of different things. And that's when you have a male that is in this 35, 40 range, 50 range, that might be the precursor to a much deeper disease. And in my type of therapy, what I do is dig into what is the lifestyle. And I have clients that and patients that are willing to do the hard work in order to overcome that.
Right.
And what I've noticed is that I use cognitive therapy, and I use the Reiki healing. And what I've found is that, when men are approaching something that has to do with a mindset, they freeze. Is that what you find? Tell me a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the first thing I ask is if they've been checked out by a doctor. Do you want to have any obvious physical issues related to that checked out? Because like you says, it could be indicative of heart disease or something.
Hmm.
So, but it's pretty much like every issue has even though most of the reasons for erectile dysfunction have a physical component to it. In the end, it's in my opinion, it's psychological, because you have to overcome a mindset change in order to lose weight. If your erectile dysfunction is caused by a weight issue, or smoking or drinking, you need to address those issues first. You need to eat healthier, you need to exercise, and these are things that are hard to do for a lot of people. You can't just somebody who has a bad diet start eating healthy, or start a major exercise regime, and it just that's why diets, like 90% of diets, fail, and people can't maintain a proper exercise routine, because it's such a mindset change. You can either do it two ways. You can either slowly build your own habits, and there's a great book called Atomic Habits. I forget the guy's name, but just look up Atomic Habits, on how to change your own mindset, and slowly build up to a major mindset change, that takes over time. Or you can do, like, hypnosis, what I do, RTT, that can really kickstart that and set it into overdrive to like reset your mindset like automatically,
Yeah.
which is great. That's why I love what I do.
Yeah.
So, but it takes a mindset change to get over whatever the other issue is, in order to get to that fixing, helping of the erectile dysfunction, premature ejaculation, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Well, I'm using cognitive therapy, and it's basically doing exactly what you're doing. It's just a different modality of therapy. And it basically rewires the brain and how the brain is relating to that issue. It's pain or pleasure that gets you to
Right.
change. And
Yeah.
one of the things that I do feel is very important, and I'm glad you brought it up, and I need to highlight it. It's simply that the American Medical Association, when they do tests, and they do find out that it might be diabetes or a heart condition or cholesterol or something like that, our clients are the individuals that need to take those steps to get on a program. And it's baby steps. One of the things that I learned in my own life is that just by reducing the number of calories in a meal by portions, or by selecting another type of product. And I eat yogurt every day because I need the probiotics, I need the and it really works for me. So
Right.
what I read was that the brand that I was eating had sugar in it, a lot of sugar. They all do, by the way. And
Yeah.
what I found was that if I cut down on the amount of sugar by just switching product and finding the right flavor, what would happen is that over a year period of time, I would automatically lose weight because I was reducing the amount of sugar that was going into my body, number of calories,
Right.
and even portion sizes. There are restaurants, and I have been to Tokyo and Kyoto and a number of places, and I ate really well, enjoyed it, had
Right.
a great time. But your portions in Europe and Asia are completely different than the portions that are served in the US. And
Right.
part of that is being able to push away, and it takes that rewiring, because
Yeah.
I don't know if you grew up in the same time period where you had to finish what you was on your plate, and then you had to go, then you got dessert. And rewiring that took quite a bit.
Right.
Yeah. So
Yeah. It takes time. Even, after a session, people they're kind of registering what's going on. Different people have, everybody has kind of a different reaction after a session. Some can actually, go through, an emotional period, where they're processing all this information, all these changes that are going on in their minds. So, it's funny you mentioned yogurt. I eat yogurt every day myself, and I make my own yogurt. There's a
right.
great book called Super Gut, which,
Yeah.
when you make your own yogurt, you're fermenting it for like up to like 2 days, so it builds massive amounts massive amounts of healthy bacteria to help you out, and it's really helped my digestive system.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
far less like heartburn,
Oh, yeah.
because otherwise, these little yogurts can have, just 14 grams of sugar in one. So if you're consuming these regularly, that's a ton of extra sugar you're having.
Right.
Sugar is as addictive as cocaine. So
Very much so.
getting past sugar can improve your health,
Mhm.
vastly.
Yeah, and I do have to highlight your statement that the process of making that change after therapy is, um, it it's a mental rearranging of how do I feel? What's this new habit that I've got to get? Because
Mhm.
breaking the old habits is very difficult. But with the hypnosis, I definitely believe that that is a great vehicle to be able to get that rewiring done rather rapidly, along with
Yeah,
the cognitive therapy and the Reiki healing that I mentioned earlier.
right. Yeah, it can be so effective that, and this isn't my story. I'm borrowing this from a colleague, that a guy wanted to quit drinking, so he used RTT to quit drinking,
Hmm.
and it was like immediate. It's like he just like quit drinking entirely. So he had to come back to the therapist because he was saying, I don't know what you did to me, but I can't even drink even socially. So I want another session to be able to help me drink socially. So had this guy had another session to help him be able to want to drink socially, but not you
Success.
know on his own, right? So it's kind of a funny story how effective these things can be.
Yeah.
I helped a lady about 6 months ago. She was always drinking at home by herself,
Hmm.
uh, not excessively. And when she went out, she was a responsible drinker, but she wanted to stop drinking at home,
Hmm.
and it was basically loneliness. She didn't feel like she was enough because she had a critical upbringing, and so was able to help her uh, overcome that, drinking at home
Hmm.
thing. But
Well, do you feel that the types of relationships that people have are either help promote the healing process, or can it be detrimental? Tell me a little bit about what you think there about relationships.
well, yeah, relationships are a common cause of, or a contributor towards uh, erectile dysfunction. But why are people having that kind of relationship? Is that something because earlier in life they've had other experiences, or going back to a rough upbringing? There was a guy recently, last month, 2 months ago, um, with erectile dysfunction, who had guilt, as you mentioned earlier, because he had a very religious upbringing,
Hmm.
and all this driven into his head that it's just it's bad, bad, bad. You can't even masturbate, and he even so, so much pressure that he ended up becoming addicted to porn, and masturbating far too much. So these are things that you have to, okay, you might have erectile dysfunction because you have an addiction to porn. Well, where does that addiction come from,
Hmm.
and how do you break that? Where did it start? Why?
Well, it's also breaking down what is the addiction. Why is one person having addictive behavior versus other people that don't have an addictive behavior? And it's breaking that down in order to be able to uh, stop that addiction. And
Exactly.
to your point that the role models that we have, and that role model is being a how you eat, how you exercise. What was
Right.
your upbringing as far as critical, or were you admired in your work, or were you always criticized in your work? And the going to your religious, I just can't believe that religion has a huge impact on people because it's a belief system. And
Yeah.
it's not scientific, it's just a belief system. And I've had patients where because they were having premarital sex, they couldn't have an orgasm. They were not enjoying it. They were fearful of it. They had performance anxiety over it. And they always had guilt right after. And
Right.
they couldn't reconcile the two of them. And I personally believe that sex is a natural act in any relationship, and it does deepen the relationship when it's done right. And going back to the role model, pornography is not a good role model. Those are actors, and in pornography, the that particular individual, they're cutting it, and they're telling him to stop right in the middle of it, and they're switching to another camera angle in the edit, which makes the viewer feel that they're doing the long distance running when that's not
Yeah.
really what's happening. And some of the things that I've noticed with pornography is that the men brain, because of the dopamine, they need more and more dopamine. And that dopamine is what gets them going, but then they have to watch more violent, or they have to watch a different type of pornography. And
Right.
then it starts to really snowball. So, you know, tell me just in your rapid transfer therapy, tell me how you would you'd work with that.
Well, yeah. So once you go into hypnosis, we go back to scenes uh, relating to that issue. So once somebody's in a trance and hypnosis, that you go back to, and it's able to you're able to bring up memories that you probably didn't even remember, and this happens quite often.
Sure.
So you're going back to these scenes, and you're basically investigating. You're doing your detective work, and you're getting at least three, four, even five scenes, and you put it all together, and then you link it to your current problem. You see how they're related. You kind of discuss why, cause and effect, and it all basically comes down to, I'm not telling the client anything. I'm not saying, okay, your problem is related to this, but the client, has to determine for themselves, and I'm just the facilitator to help them understand what's actually going on behind the scenes. So with it's like with porn, right? So
Yeah.
why are you watching porn? Why do you feel like this is something you need to do? And why did you start? Why do you keep needing to do it? And it's an interesting phenomenon, that
Mhm.
watching porn can have an effect on erectile functions. So, but yeah, just going back and connecting the issues, finding out why, whether it's childhood or more recent. So it's not always a childhood related thing. Oftentimes it is, but it's always something,
Mhm.
you know,
Yeah.
connected to that, or smoking, or weight, or you know whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So, with the therapy that I do is that, I'm scanning the body and I'm finding these pockets of energy that where it's blocked, it's not flowing. And that can deal with the blood flow. It can also deal with the thought pattern that they're taking their anger or their guilt, or they're now placing it in a certain place in their body, and it
Right,
just festers there, and
right,
it leads to other diseases, heart disease
right,
and cholesterol. And the types of therapy that I use are releasing that energy and getting rid of any of the blocks, and then balancing the electromagnetic field that the person has in order to be
right.
able to get a more holistic functioning body. And in some cases, I've found that the what they came in for isn't really what the issue is. It's something completely different.
Exactly. Right, right. So they don't even know a lot of times, and a lot of times I've you know have some of this in some of my videos um, on YouTube about closing your eyes and feeling where you're feeling whatever it is. If it's like stress or anxiety, you close your eyes and you kind of feel it in your body. Not enough people spend enough time feeling what's going on in
I
their body,
agree.
right?
I agree.
Right.
I don't want that thought to get away that many of us are so busy that we fill our plate, and then that creates the stress, that creates the anxiety. And
Right.
then we have, men in particular are, the way that we feel valued in the society is by how much money we've got. And that is a false belief. And
Right.
it causes, the story is that I had a client that I was working with, and it was a relationship that wasn't set up on the right foot. And
Right.
they didn't spend the time getting to know each other before they became infatuated with each other. And what happened was is that um, when he would talk about money problems, she would be turned off. And so the only reason that she was in the relationship was because she was more interested in the breadwinning rather than any other aspect of the relationship. It was more about physical possessions, and that, she just wasn't turned on by anybody that was having financial problems. So
Right.
their sex life tanked when, he went through this uh, financial crisis. And what happened is that we got him back to making money, focusing on his work, and
Right.
things improved, but through that therapy, um, that relationship didn't work out. one,
Right.
one of the things that I really want to highlight that I think is very important, you
Mm.
mentioned that you're nothing but a facilitator.
Right.
Tell me what your belief is. Why are you a facilitator? Why aren't you putting in your values and your judgments and all that other stuff into it?
Yeah, because everybody has their own story. I'm not an expert on what's going on in somebody else's mind. We're all masters of our own mind. So nobody else can tell us. What by telling somebody, okay, you need to do this, you need to do that. That's kind of like the worst way to go about it. It's helping the client understand what's going on in their own mind and body, and they're figuring this stuff out for themselves. You're helping, you're guiding them. I have a great my kind of starter video on my YouTube page kind of explains this. Getting into the subconscious and finding out what's going on, but people can't you know typically do this by themselves. You need a guide to help you understand what's going on, connect the dots.
Hmm.
You know?
Okay, so um, let's talk just a little bit about the fear of your type of therapy and mine. That men that are coming to me, they are in fear that I'm going to do something so radical that their personality is going to change, or they're going to lose motivation, or they're going to do something completely different. You want to speak to that real quick?
It's a common misconception that people think that hypnosis is some kind of mind control thing, which it isn't. If it was, then every hypnotist would be super rich by telling people to write them checks for
Yeah,
for what
you got it.
it's like. You can't get anybody to do what they normally wouldn't do. It's basically a state of deep relaxation.
Hmm.
You can't say okay, well, get up and go rob a bank. Nobody's gonna do that. And that's why I don't like stage
Yeah,
hypnosis.
that's
It's
what.
just like a hokey show. It just gives hypnosis a bad name, really.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Right.
in my case, part of what I do is read a person, scan their bodies, and I can do it long distance. And you can also do this type of hypnotherapy long distance. Sure, right?
Right.
Right. You're not, just because you are halfway across the world doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to help somebody in the U.S. Is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because it's not about. I mean, it's always nice being being in the same room as the person, but in this day and age, you can't always do that, and it's not quite practical, but it's just as effective, really, because we got the I do it by via Zoom, and so you're face to face, and we can see each other, even though the client is a hypnosis for a couple hours, but they don't even realize how quickly the time goes by.
Yeah. And so when I'm working with somebody, because I have clairvoyance, I'm also able to um, discern whether or not an individual is, on top of the table and doing the right type of therapy and the homework that needs to be done. And that makes them fearful that they're going to be judged. And, going back to being a facilitator, there is no judgment, is there?
Right. No, and I always, ask the client if they've experienced hypnosis in the past, and if they have, then they understand what's going to happen. But if not, you got to, reassure them that, hey, look, this is nothing weird. You're just going to be in a deep state of relaxation, and just even saying that helps them relax. It's not else. It's no mind control at all, because most people, even me, before I started doing this, I had this impression of hypnosis being like stage hypnosis, and
Yeah.
you can't get somebody to jump around like a monkey, and make a fool out of themselves. You just
It doesn't work, and I
right,
agree with you. And I believe that you'll agree with this statement that what we're doing is partitioning and overlaying so that the trauma or the event that they went through is doesn't have the same pain threshold that causes them to overeat, to drink, or take on risky behavior.
right. Yeah. So yeah, to that point, exactly, is that by doing this and having people go back to scenes as to what could be causing the problems, they're not reliving the experience. They're just looking at it through, from a safe space. And I reassure the client that, you're in a safe space. You're with me. You're not going to relive this. You're just viewing it on like a TV screen, and you've got absolutely nothing to worry about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right.
And so part of the therapy is a debrief, correct? Where they just talk about what the sensations were, and they talk about how they feel about it now. And it's allowing them to make the decisions. They're in total control of this therapy.
Exactly. And I'd have them like even look at a difficult scene with interest, saying, how, because I'm a fully grown adult now, and I have power over my own life and my own decisions, looking at this the scene that's led me to believe certain things about myself when I was a child, and what the grown-ups around me were doing is completely unacceptable, and I'm no way responsible for that, and making them realize that's not them now. They're in control of their lives. They have control over their own decisions. They live in a house. They got a nice job or whatever it is. And they realized that what was going on was completely ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
I behaved as a child with appropriate age behavior, and the adults around me were basically the children. So I'm you live your lives by the stories we tell ourselves, and I've been telling myself this story ever since this moment happened, and it's like wow, it's like it's I don't need to think that way anymore.
Yeah.
And they come to an instant conclusion, realization that 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 they're better than the adults that were supposed to be raising them and guiding them.
The way I relate to what you're saying is that as we progress in our lives, we need to periodically take out the trash. Those are the
Right.
items that are no longer of value to us. They are belief systems that no longer hold true because we now have a different set of circumstances. The internet being what it is a great tool, but it's it can suck you in pretty quickly. And
a great analogy to RTT or hypnosis is like you have your computer, and you have all your icons on the computer, and those are the things that are in our conscious mind. But the subconscious or unconscious mind is all the stuff going on in the hard drive that's really running the show. So when you can dig down and take out those files, like he says, and take out the trash, is a great analogy too. Is you're putting all that stuff in your little garbage bin, and you're emptying it.
And it's gone because you, to your point, they made the decision right then and there that this isn't of value to me anymore, and it's not a belief that I need to have, and that is it releases burdens off of people immediately, and they really are excited by that. So
and stuff like trauma can be actually embedded in your nervous system. So, but that doesn't mean that you can't dig it out and release it.
Correct.
There's all kinds of traumas, that you can actually get down and remove that garbage. You're digging down into the hard drive, so to speak.
Yeah.
Even your nervous system, and you're digging that stuff out. So once you can release that, it can release all kinds of even physical issues. Skin, psoriasis, even.
Very much so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So,
and one of the things that you said that I need to highlight again is the stories people tell themselves. And part of my working with them is you are the main character in the movie. So who are the other characters that are in your movie, and are the characters germane to your movie now, or do they need to move on? So and that goes back to relationships also. But I like the concept of the stories that people tell each other, tell themselves, and that goes back to the words that we talked about earlier, and their belief systems. If they believe that they should feel guilty due to a religious belief or a role model belief. And when I was growing up, masturbation was not a thing that you did. It was, and when that individual matures and finds out their own sexuality, it really is a game changer. And we haven't talked too much about masturbation, so I want to throw that on the table. And we've talked about pornography and the dopamine, and masturbation is a natural act. It should not have any kind of parameters on it. Too much masturbation, of course, deadens the head of the penis, and you may hurt it because you've got a death grip on it. And the biggest thing that I see is that if you're masturbating a tremendous amount, you're not interested in having a relationship or building a relationship.
Right. You can't. I think that's more detrimental than pornography, but that's just my opinion. But yes, I absolutely believe that it's a healthy act. When done, responsibly.
I never thought of saying that, but I like
I
that.
don't know. Like some people do it. I was just talking to a guy the other day. He masturbated three times a day, and so he's still in the process of wanting to sign up with me. So I just did this like two days ago. I do an initial interview to find out what the problem is, and seeing if the client and I are a good fit. But this gentleman, he used to watch porn a lot and he masturbate 3 times a day, and he's cut that back already. So he's already taken on some responsibility, and this is a thing that a lot of people don't seem. A lot of guys just want that quick fix, as we were discussing before the interview. They just want to take some medication for their erectile dysfunction, or they want some device or some other trick and tip to just like immediately get over it without digging down to find out what the actual problem is. So a lot of guys they're in a lot of these erectile dysfunction groups, and they're looking for the quick fix, but they're not so interested in really finding out what the problem is. And there's their partner who's coming on trying to find answers, because the guy doesn't seem to want to fix his issue, and this causes relationship problems. And some guys are even saying, "Oh, should I leave my partner? Should I leave my wife or get divorced because I have erectile dysfunction?" This is just it's absurd to me that people actually think stuff like this. There are the partners that do not understand, and that they'll leave the guy who has erectile dysfunction because they think it's they only have erectile dysfunction because they don't actually love their partner, which is just as absurd. So a lot of guys are losing the love of their lives and actually having suicidal thoughts. And I did a video on that, and it's terrible.
It is.
One guy actually tried to commit suicide, and fortunately he didn't didn't work. But it's like either the partner doesn't understand, or the guy is not interested in fixing his own problem. So what do you do? And you can't really help somebody who doesn't want to help themselves. So it's a shame that women are coming on to try to figure out a problem, try to figure out what's going on, because their guy doesn't actually want to be involved in fixing his own health issue, which then creates a worse problem for their relationship.
Well, to your point, that women are a lot easier or have a different belief system, and they go to the doctor a lot more than your typical male. And overcoming that fear, because women are, and this is a belief that I have, so I'm going to throw it on the table, that women's bodies are for being attractive. They are being desirable. They are, and the men's body is more like a tool. And a man, when he breaks an arm, he goes, "Yeah, that I got to fix that." But when they are working with the mind, it totally goes away. They don't even want to explore that. So
it comes down to communication.
Very much.
Women are more apt to communicate even with their friends. Guys, erectile dysfunction. Guys just don't talk about it. It's the third rail conversation that it's just because it's so emasculating that guys won't even share their own issues with their friends most of the time.
Right. They won't talk about it. And, to be able to build that relationship, patient client relationship is huge. And I am a firm believer of good, solid communication. And, women will definitely hang in with their partners as long as they see that there's progress, that the male is doing something. But if the male is just blowing it off, then that's not really a good functional communication and relationship. So,
Yeah, and even guys are talking about, oh, should I let my partner, see somebody else for sexual gratification because I can't? It's like I'm just rolling my eyes, going, "Good God, I mean, communicate, talk. There's other ways to, you know,
please
having
your
penetrative
partner.
sex."
There's so many different ways to please your partner. And,
Right,
one of the videos I did is um, in my partnership, and you saw her walking around. And it's like, what turns her on? Well, me fixing stuff turns her on. Me taking out the trash, me helping around the household. And, I didn't realize that. But communication helps that. And,
right.
you know, it is amazing to me that the belief system that there's the female role and the male role. And that's not true at all.
Right.
So the therapies that you and I are both talking about help overcome that and rewire it so that the male can be a caretaker versus the person that goes out and hunts and kills.
Right.
Is there, we're kind of winding down. Is there any other topic that you thought about that you want to express right now?
We've pretty much covered a lot. Yeah, I've got a lot of videos about stuff like building confidence,
Hmm.
which is great. If you have more confidence in your life, you're able to accomplish a lot more things. Feel better about yourself. Less likely to have performance anxieties, uh, stuff like that. So if anybody wants to check out my YouTube page, Derek Thomas Therapy. Go ahead and check out some of my videos on. It has a lot to do with confidence, stress, anxiety. Do you know if you have stress or anxiety? And then I have another video on tips how to deal with that.
Hmm.
And it's a lot of other stuff. So, and I'm doing another video on fear of failure. You know,
Right.
because when you go into anything, not just sex, if you expect to fail, you're more likely to fail. If you
Definitely.
expect to succeed, you're far more likely to succeed.
Very.
So you need that attitude going into everything you do, not just the bedroom.
Hmm. And the one thing that I want to kind of recap is that it is, my perfect client is an individual that wants to do the hard work. They want to keep the relationship that they have with their partner. They are motivated to make their lives better and have more of a lifestyle. And another way of relating to that is mobility and being able to achieve the dreams that they've had, and I've had to give up a lot of my dreams just because I'm a little bit more mature. And is that a bad thing? No, it just is part of what life is. Yeah. So
Like I was saying too about you can't help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. So yeah, so the ideal client is somebody, and I do this. I'll ask them before this, in the initial interview. I have some questions that they answer before they even book the call.
sure.
How motivated are you on a scale of 1 to 10 to fix your problem?
Hmm.
I like people that are like a 9 or a 10, right? Because some people are like 5 or a 6. If you really want to, you can't really. It's hard to help yourself if you can't help yourself if you don't want to be helped, and then if you really want to fix your problem, you need to be motivated to actually change your life, get that mindset change going, so you can actually make the changes that you want. If you're going into something half-ass, you're going to get a half-ass result.
I certainly agree. So one more time, I'm going to let you do a ad. Say your name, say your YouTube. If you want to mention your pricing, this pricing, by the way, I'm going to cover you here, Derek. I'm going to give you a way out. That it's for 2022, and After that,
Right.
prices are going up. We got inflation. We have a number of other things, the supply and demand. So go ahead, Derek.
Yeah, so I offer a couple different courses, if you want to call it that. One's like a single session where we do one RTT session, and that's basically a session, and then there's a 21-day follow up of listening to a recording to drive in, because the session itself can be life changing, but then listening to the recording for another 21 days helps drive in. So it's a customized, bespoke recording that we do in the session that they'll listen to every day for 21 days, because it takes 14 to 21 days to rewire neural pathways, right? So, and that's an extremely effective way, and I charge 500 US for that. I have another coaching program, which basically there is no real time frame. I like to do hopefully within 6 months for 1,500 US dollars, and that's just kind of unlimited support and multiple sessions to help get a result.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not just one or two or three sessions, and then if it doesn't work, then so long. But it really works and is very effective for digging down and really finding out the problem. If you have erectile dysfunction, but you smoke way too much, you drink too much, or you have too much stress, is figuring those problems out over a few sessions. It's not like typical going to a psychologist where you can, or psychiatrist where you're in session for forever.
Right.
I was just reading, there's a little graph I saw online in a group about the effectiveness of hypnotherapy versus typical psychology, where it's really ineffective over hundreds of sessions, where it's only a few sessions, and hypnotherapy really gets results. So we're talking serious results quickly. But some people really need that coaching, that guided approach, having somebody to work on their journey, not just fixing quitting smoking before getting a hold of a better diet, losing weight, managing their stress, relationship problems, whatever it is. Having somebody basically hold their hand. What is your problem worth to you? What is your how is this going to affect you if you can't get over this erectile dysfunction or whatever it is you have in the next year? Where are you going to be? How are you going to feel? How much more stress are you going to have? How much more sleep are you going to lose over it? You're going to lose your partner, your money, whatever it is. What's that worth? So it's really effective to have that coaching program for 1,500 US. Some people might think, oh God, that's expensive. I know. I know people who charge a lot more.
Give me a break. You're not going to have the problem ever again. It's a cure, right?
Right.
It's not a Band-Aid.
I mean, and it's not just getting over your stress. It's and then that coaching is helping people enjoy getting into supplements. And I'm a big believer in supplements. But it's how you take it. A lot of people don't take supplements correctly. They'll take what says on the back of the bottle, and then they're not having results. And then they're wondering, that I'm not going to take it anymore. Right? You just got to learn how to take this stuff. And part of my coaching program delves into that, and diet, and getting your microbiome straightened out, and it's a multifaceted approach. It's not always just one thing. It's not always just losing weight or just managing your stress, or it's a package deal. So
it's a holistic approach to the body. If you are targeting one symptom, that isn't necessarily where the cure is. It's just how your body reacts. And I don't know if it was in the prior to this session, but you talked about eczema. You talked about rashes. They are just a way of the body saying, "Look, I need a break." And if you delve into it, it happens, and you have a cure. It's not a Band-Aid. And
there's something driving all these problems.
Correct.
And it's not just your stress at work, right?
Well, I appreciate you coming on and allowing me to take up some of your time there, Derek. I think that we covered a lot of different subjects, and I think that it was fruitful for the people that are watching this. And I happen to do not only one-on-one, but also group therapies. And the idea is that, Derek, I'm sure you're going to agree with this, that if it isn't us, get a cure. It's not about us. It's about us helping and supporting somebody to get a cure.
Right.
Would you agree to that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm not. I would love for people to ask me more questions and check me out on YouTube or my homepage, derekthomasTherapy.com. But this is about. I've always enjoyed helping people fix whatever's going on. I'm like one of like me and my mom are like the healers in the family.
Yeah,
You know.
definitely. Well, you can go to my website at mach1coaching.com, or you can go to the Facebook page of Mach 1, and you can also look me up as Russ Hiner at Reiki Healing. So I do appreciate it, Derek. Thank you very much for your time. You have a great day.